Good evening and welcome. It's TERF Talk Tuesday. I am your host, Kellie-Jay. I'm just going to make sure I can't hear myself, but I can also hear myself. There we go. I can do both of those things. Got weird lighting this evening where I just look hot, as in boiling. So I do apologize. How the devil are you? I think is the order of the day. How the devil are you? I'm pretty good. So let's crack on straight away. I will take the calls off Do Not Disturb. You are more than welcome to call me right now. And I will tell you the numbers, which may help you actually do that. Good evening, Rebecca and Catherine. Let me tell you the numbers. The old lovely Band United normally chimes in with all the numbers. Anyway, where are we? So last week we had pretty good callers. You are welcome to come and say whatever it is that you feel needs saying. I'll give you some topics. What was your peak trans moment? What do you think will be the final breaking point in the UK? If you're in Australia, New Zealand, America, Canada, what do you think is going to happen with your respective politicians? Well done if you're coming to Brighton. It is going to be phenomenal. Here we go. No, that's not it. I just feel the reason you all tune in is my amazing prowess with numbers. So let me just tell you what they are. Okay. So you can call me on 0204 515 2100. So if you're outside the UK, it's country code 44, and then it's 204 515 2100. I love you, Band United. Thank you so much. I'm going to share that as well. In fact, I'm going to put that in the description right now. For some reason, it's not generating it all on its own, which is irritating. So you are welcome to call. The free phone number if you're in the UK is 0800 058 4204, and the free phone number if you're in the US and you don't need a dialing code, the country code is 0877 72 9177. Good evening, caller. You are first. You can say who you are. You absolutely don't have to. But what would you like to say?
Oh, hello, Kelly. My name's Frances, and I'm in Brighton.
Hi, Frances in Brighton. How are you?
I'm okay. I just got back from Australia, so I'm very jet lagged.
Gosh. And how is Brighton for you, Frances?
Distressing, because I am an ex-Green Party member, and I was piqued by Amy Challoner.
Right. Unfortunately, not the rest of your party came with you on that peak moment.
No, I think a lot of people were very distressed but scared, and quite a few people left. So it's an ongoing issue, I think.
Do you think the Greens will come back?
The trouble is that it's who can vote, who's got the time to vote on issues. Do you know what I mean? So the sensible people possibly are in jobs and can't do it. And so it's really, the whole point of the Green Party was its democratic process, but that's been thrown out the window now. So I don't know. Part of me wants it to burn down. Part of me hopes for the people that are still there that they'll hold firm and turn it round. But I guess it won't turn around till the rest of the country does.
No. And look, I was a lefty, right? So I was firmly on the left, and I thought that I was on the left because that was the side of politics. And I'm not saying there is a different side that does this, but it was a side of politics that supported working class people and helped people sort of climb out of poverty and give them opportunities, right? That's what I thought I was doing on the left. I had no idea that it was so deeply misogynist, and the longer I've been sort of grieving the left, if you like, I've had a long time to reflect and think that maybe I was wrong all along. How do you feel about that? Do you see the misogyny as a brand new thing, or do you think it's always been really quite apparent?
No, it's always been there.
Right.
It's always been there. And I knew that. I used to live in Australia as well. And I sort of, went to the alternative side of things on the theory that it would be less misogynistic than the mainstream. But it was just more subtle or less subtle in its own way. I mean, if you go back to Jack Kerouac and On the Road, it's always been there.
Yeah.
It's just, in a way, it's about the creativity is more important. And so the woman becomes either the muse or gets subjugated to the whole thing. But it's definitely always been there.
It's so comforting. And will we be seeing you in Brighton? Because I'm thinking Preston Park might not be the place. I think the Level might be a better place.
I'm ringing you because I was going to say the same thing.
Good.
Because of the pub in the park's going to really make a lot of noise and take up a lot of space, and you'll get drowned out, and especially if they're activists there as well. Yeah, I've spoken to the council, who've been really, really helpful actually, and they've suggested that the Level is more of a natural place where people go to speak or protest. I don't know. Or the Level rallies. Is one of the things I was going to suggest. The other place is the Angel of Peace on Hove Lawns, because that's on the seafront and you get a lot of people from the beach, and it's harder for people to harass you there.
I like that idea. The trouble is with sound, sometimes sound can be a bit difficult if we've got like the sea and the wind. And also I understand that the Level is like not too bad a walking distance from the train station.
It's quite close, and there's a lot of trees, and it looks a lot more like the Hyde Park venue.
Well, there we go. Well, I jolly well hope to see you. Do you think you will speak?
I don't know. I'll see how I go.
Okay, well, really lovely to talk to you. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thing.
Well, thank you for calling in, jet lag and all, and look forward to seeing you.
Thanks very much, and well done to everything you've done, and looking forward to seeing you here.
Thanks so much. Me too. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, yeah. So we were, I have been talking in Brighton. It's really weird. So I've been thinking a lot lately about the various threads and themes that run through this. Hello, good evening. You are through to TERF Talk Tuesday. You don't have to say who you are. You can. You are welcome. What would you like to say?
Oh, top of the evening to you, Kelly.
Good evening.
Pleasure to talk to you. Yeah, my name is Mark Kelly. So great name. Yeah, I'm a bit surprised. I'm a bit surprised actually that I got through. Yeah, I look at you as the Nigel Farage of this movement, Kelly. I really do. Now, I was very much involved in the whole Brexit thing. I fought tooth and nail to get Brexit done. I even wrote a song about it where I sampled Nigel Farage in the Parliament saying, "Who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Juncker?" and put it on YouTube. And I heard, I actually heard that he, well, there's a rumor that he really liked the song, but but my brother was totally on the other side of the argument, big time Remainer. And we fell out big time over it. We had countless rows about it. But in the end, we agreed to disagree on the subject. Now, I suspected that my brother might be buying into all this transgender ideology, woke baloney. So was always keeping away from this subject whenever, I spoke to him, because I didn't want to fall out with him again. But it was always the elephant in the room. So I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago on the phone. And against my better judgment, he asked me what have I been up to, and I said, well, I've written a song, another song. And I said, would you like to hear it? And he said, go on then. So I spoke the verses to him, the first verse to him, and it goes. It says, No way ever be a day a boy can be a girl. No man can ever be a woman. Never will a man give birth. He went absolutely ballistic. You can't say that. You are talking absolute beep. I said, listen, you really need to wake up to all this, brother. This woke baloney spreading like a virus. I said, the schools, the colleges, the nurseries, universities, they're all becoming, they're indoctrination and brainwashing camps. It's all too late, unfortunately, Kelly, because my brother has already been lost to the land of no hope, woke baloney. It's as simple as that.
I think
I've lost him.
So I think there's a little bit of a Venn diagram, and I voted, just to be clear, I voted to remain. And I was so aghast about the lack of democracy that had I voted again, even if I'd wanted to still remain, I would have voted to leave, because I was just, the idea of democracy to me is much more important. The value in democracy is much more important than the decision that was made, right? So that's just me. But I think there's quite a big overlap. I think somebody who voted to leave is far more likely to be less inclined, well, A, far more likely to talk about this trans debate, and B, far less likely to be persuaded. And I don't quite know what it is. I don't know whether it's working class people who do actual real jobs. I don't know, like, what do you think it is? Like, you and what's the difference between you and your brother that he's so persuaded by the trans stuff and you're not?
I just don't know. I think over the years, because we used to be very, very close and work and do music together, and back in the old raving days and all of that. And both of us, we were all on the left. We were all on the left, and my brother remained on the left. Whereas I started drifting towards the right with all the we took basically in 2004 when Tony Blair basically opened up the floodgates, and we had all the countries, Eastern European countries coming in to the Union. So I drifted off, and I started siding with the Nigel Farages of this world. And that's basically what happened to my brother. My brother remained on the left, and I just can't believe. I mean, I'm so disappointed with the left. They've absolutely abandoned you. Anyone who with half a brain cell knows that all this stuff is absolute baloney. That's what it is. It's absolute baloney. You talk to people down the pub, just normal people. For example, I said to a good friend of mine the other day, I said, if I was to stick on a dress and a bit of lippy and a wig, and your daughter went into the toilet and I followed her in, I said, what would you do? He says, you're a good mate of mine. He says, but I would drag you out of there. I would drag you out of there. Now that's just the normal people. They're just normal people. That's what normal-minded people. That's how they think.
Yeah.
And but the left, what's happened to them? I'm almost speechless about the left. Keir Starmer.
Well, I don't know
what is a woman.
Well, I don't know what happened to the left, but I think I fear that I was wrong about them all along. That's what I fear. I'm not saying that I've necessarily sort of charged head on into the right, but it's a very scary situation. But thank you so much for calling this evening.
Yep, thank you, Kelly. Thanks.
Great to talk to you. Cheers. Bye-bye. Oh, I think I just cut that man off. I'm so sorry. Did I put you on hold?
Your party on hold has disconnected the line.
I'm so sorry. If you were just calling, please call again. Look, I think what we need to focus on somewhat is listening to the things that people say and try not to do the things that we all love to do. Good evening. You are through to TERF Talk Tuesday. Ah, you're still here. Great. Sorry, I thought I just cut you off just now. You can say who you are. You absolutely don't have to. But what would you like to say?
Right. Hi. That's great that I've got through. I won't say who I am, but I'm ringing from Switzerland, and you had someone on who talked about Switzerland last week, and you said something really interesting about citizenship, and I thought it might be quite interesting for people to hear about the situation that we have a bit more.
Yes.
Here, yeah. So we have self-ID, right? It came in at the beginning of the year. No debate before it, of course. And it's quite interesting to compare the process, the procedure for becoming Swiss, as you did, to actually getting the self-ID. I got Swiss citizenship a few years ago with my kids. It cost me, I think, in all about £3,000. It takes years and years to be eligible for it. You also have to give all sorts of proof, that you're integrated. You have to give names of people who the authorities can phone to find out if you actually, are someone that they want to actually give citizenship to. And all of that contrasts with, you can change now your so-called sex for about £75 multiple times, no questions asked. Birth certificate gets changed as well. I have to say, when my kids are all, they've got their heads screwed on, their pretty critical thinkers, and my youngest daughter, when she found out that you could do that for 75 francs, I mean, I pique her every day with stuff like that. So and we've had children removed from parents who want a measured approach here as well. That's happened.
Wow.
All the organisations are captured, feminist groups, it's all women with an X. It's so incoherent, the whole thing. I just can't be part of it. We've got
so peculiar.
Gender identity being taught in schools. I'm a teacher as well. We've had workshops in my school on trans identity and stuff, and when I saw this, I thought, right, well, maybe we had an exhibition at school on the whole trans and transitioning and mastectomy scars, photos and everything, with no discussion about it, whether this was rather being presented as something that if this appeals to you, then this is how you should go about contacting these organizations to help, so-called. And I went to speak to my head, because I thought, seeing as there's no debate here, and in the UK we do have some debate, and that the Hilary Cass interim report had just come out, and I thought maybe she'd be interested, right, to know what's being said there. And she's sort of fallen for it, hook, line and sinker, and basically told me it was my prejudices, and
Does it frighten you that what they've, well, I don't know how we've managed so well in this country to fight back. I don't know whether we were pre-warned. I don't know whether it's because we're quite small. I don't know whether it's because we're relatively outspoken or why it is. But the thing that I find deeply sinister is it's kind of textbook everywhere. The methodology of the TRAs to sort of covertly get into politics, into seats of power, which is, it mirrors, I'm not saying they are paedophiles, but it does mirror the way that the paedophile information exchange in the UK, and I'm sure paedophiles throughout the globe, manage to have better access to children. Do you find that sinister?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's happened here as elsewhere, and is they're aiming in Germany or other places to implement it as well. And here it was so quietly pushed through, and I people here are quite live and let live, and I don't know if they sort of benefit from that, or there's other stuff that I'm not aware of. But there's moves to get men in women's prisons here, that all of the standard things that we know. And I mean, we just had a presentation at school from quite a known adolescent psychiatrist specialist here, about girls and adolescent girls, because we see quite a few of them having panic attacks or, you know, getting anxious, and so we had someone talk to us about, and he said that, you know, particularly for girls, adolescence is really, really difficult. It's, you know, they have challenges that go beyond what the boys might have in general. And so when I went to speak to my head, I said, look, you know, we've had this talk. We know that, you know, there's a great number of adolescent girls who are, you know, now identifying out of being girls. What actually are we offering them? You know, the ones, instead of this, you know, cut off your breasts or call yourself something else, what actually are we doing for adolescent girls to make them, you know, give them resilience and yeah, and the fact that queer theory, you know, I mean, I read queer theory, and I said I have a big problem with the fact that queer theory is used as a justification for these medical interventions. It has absolutely nothing to do with the medical sphere. But all your reasonable, rational critiques just kind of come up against the brick wall of born in the wrong body. You only get one life. You know, I've seen miserable young people, and they should be able to live, you know, how they feel comfortable. It's a kind of a misplaced compassion in a way, I think, that
so I just think it's just a big trick.
Yeah,
I just think it's so weird when somebody thinks being kind to a child who has this, I would argue 99% of them, it's some sort of social contagion that they've managed to get from the virus that is Tumblr or maybe even their friends. I just find it weird that they say it would be kind for that girl to cut off her breasts. It's just absolutely insane. But thank you so much for calling from Switzerland. I knew that I was kind of right about citizenship, and it pleases me no end that my very tiny amount of knowledge was actually somewhat correct. But thank you very much, and best of luck.
I don't know what we can do. You know, there's a few of us who kind of, some more than others, who are quite invested in really trying to get politicians informed and that they wake up, you know, to the kind of dangers and reality of what's happening. But
perhaps I'll come and do a speaker's corner. I'd love to come to Switzerland.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll sort it. Definitely, that would be so good.
That would be great. Brilliant. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Soon. Cheers.
Anyway.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye. Isn't it? It's just so weird. Okay. So 27th. We're not going to be at Speaker's Corner this weekend. We're going to be at the Hampstead Ladies Ponds, Kenwood Ladies Ponds. Good evening. You are through to TERF Talk Tuesday. You don't have to say who you are. You are more than welcome to. What would you like to say?
I just want to talk about the fact that I'm a father with 2 daughters, and I've had to fight tooth and nail to get them freedom from this wokey agenda that they're trying to force upon them.
And how old are your daughters ish? Are they
one's 16 and one's 21.
Oh God, okay.
Yeah, but they're okay, they're good. I mean, because I've nurtured them in such a way to be proud of themselves as women and to be independent, well-read, never listen to one side of an argument, always be objective. And luckily they've grown up to not be of that nature. But I see their friends all around them that are just like with pumped up lips, self-conscious women. I mean, my daughters go to school, and for my younger one, when she goes to school, she like, if she wants to wear a miniskirt, and then she gets tooted at and things like that. And the biggest problem is that we have to create good men, and it's the weak men turning into this disease of transitioning and all of that.
How do you think I want to ask you 2 questions. First of all, I want to ask you, what do you think it is about your daughters that both of them can be resilient against friend, because when all of your friends think something and you're maybe the only one that does, or the only one in a group that can speak up, that's pretty fantastic. So what do you attribute that to? And then the other is, how the hell do you think we make better men?
Well, first of all, that we need, you start by, for example, I've got, I live in a house, I've got a spare room. I've got friends that have the children that are 27 years old. They've never worked in their lives. They stay on the computer 24 hours a day doing this gaming. So I'd go to my friend and I said, get your son to stay around my house. He's never worked, never bothered. So come and stay at my house. He can stay in the spare bedroom and he can do some work with me. But they need some clarity and direction with what they can do in life. So I say to them, I knock on the door, wake up in the morning, and then, oh, I'm really tired, I can't get up. And I say, you just get up because you're a man. What you need to do is stop complaining, stop sponging off your mum, get in the car, drive down there and say, hello, mum, I'm coming to pick you up to take you for coffee. Take charge of the situation. You're not a baby anymore. And then he says, yeah, but the thing is, I'm thinking of doing this as a career, but I'm not sure. And I said, you sound like my little daughter when she was 6 in the supermarket having a hissy fit. And these guys are really big and tall. Like one of them's got a big build, does boxing and martial arts. And then after I've had the big heavy discussion with him, I said, anyway, let's cook a steak together and sit down and have a couple of beers. You know, and then, but no one's given them clarity. And it's the same with girls. Sometimes I take my daughter in the car and she might have one of her friends, and then I sort of can't help but overhear the conversation. And I hear them behind saying, oh, look how ugly I am. My nose is so big. But no one just gives them clarity and say, listen, you're the most beautiful girl that you can ever be. Nobody is going to be as fit and healthy with so much potential for yourself in the future. And, you know, just like small discussions, small points of view. And then after a while, getting to do physical work with me. Like I work as a plumber. But since my children were little, they're both girls, I've taught them how to solder. I've taught them how to rewire houses. I've taught them how to plaster. They use the drill, the saw, everything. But also, when they come into the house, when they were 7, and they said, I want to make a cake. And there was a massive explosion in the kitchen. Good, let's make the cake because you're ready now. But a lot of people say, I don't want my kitchen to be untidy. So they won't do it. So just a little thing so they can start building up their self-confidence. And when my 21-year-old, when she finally got a boyfriend, she was so self-confident as a person that she was able to choose a good man that she recognizes as a good man. So she chose that good man, and they've been together for a while. And when they met, they were probably 19 or 20. When he came round my house, I said, look, there's a young man in my house. I'm going to create this good man. I'm going to nurture him the best I can. They're young. They might split up one day. But when they go forward in life, he's going to walk away as a better person. And that's my job as a man. And my girls, they're so confident that when they went to school, am I going on too much?
No, you carry on.
When I went to school, when they used to go to school, they used to try to indoctrinate them. So they go in a class and they study history. And then they started going on about misogynism and the oppression of women and all of this stuff. And I thought, that does not create a good woman. Let's analyse this carefully. In 1860, when 99% of the people lived like Oliver Twist, lived in poverty, starvation, and all of the other things that went on, the things that held them together was the man, the woman, standing together. If the man went out and worked and the woman stayed at home because she had to breastfeed and the man died, she'd lose an income and should be in a workhouse. If the woman died, he'd lose his beautiful children. So all that slavery in the coal mine for nothing. And so this isn't misogyny. This isn't anything like that. So, and then all sorts of things, like they try to indoctrinate our children and give them one side of history rather than saying, actually, these were my children who died in the First World War on the front line at 19 years old. They're my children. They had no right to vote, but they died.
It's
you know,
horrendous.
so the narrative they told them, oh yeah, this woman got the vote for women, but it's not true. What happened is the Chartist movement, the Toll Puddle Martyrs, years and thousands of years of history for us to get this freedom, and they're trying to do it by cancelling us, removing our free speech.
Well, look, I do agree. I probably disagree with you about some of the misogyny comments, and I do think misogyny does exist. I think a man wearing a dress and going into a women's toilet is the ultimate in misogyny. However, I do think that if we talk about little bits of sexism, which do need discussing, but I think we've gone so far away from the genuine thing that oppresses people, which is lack of opportunity and lack of wealth, and the fact that some people can't afford to pay their heating bills this year. I think it's very easy to discuss wolf whistling and not discuss, and clearly, look, you've seen your daughter's experience, it is pretty damn disgusting. But yeah, there's something weird about the things we're supposed to talk about and who is telling us to talk about it, and that those people don't adhere to the things that they're telling the rest of us that we should adhere to. There's something really intangible about it, and it doesn't mean that it's not important, that we shouldn't be talking about wolf whistling and street harassment and all that sort of stuff, but I don't trust the motives of the people steering the narrative to make us talk about it. And I'm not talking about feminists, and I'm not talking about women's groups, but people in power that sort of, you know, this is what a feminist looks like t-shirt, and then actually not speaking up at all about men and women's prisons. But thank you so much, and I hope
you're right. You're right. I mean, the men and women prison situation. But the thing is, we have to create good men so they don't need this to dominate women in their transition rubbish.
I 100%, and I really do agree with you. I think there needed to be a lot of changes in society, and I wonder what the unintended consequences have been. But thank you so much for your call this evening. Cheers.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye. I keep doing this. I nearly overlap. Can I just say, everybody is welcome to call in, and I don't know that I'm trying to do time limits and overlap people, but I definitely do not give men more chance to speak. So if you think that is right, then you can just call and talk yourself. That would be great. But look, it's really important. That man talked about his two daughters, and he talked about society needing good men. Look, if you call yourself a feminist, if you're a women's rights campaigner, then one of the things you absolutely do want in our society, I certainly want with my 3 sons and my husband, is I want good men. I want my daughter to have the opportunity to have a man free from porn. So when she does eventually fall in love and puts her heart in somebody else's hands, I would like that person to be a pretty decent man. I don't think that's too much to ask, and I'm glad there are some men who think that that is also important. Good evening. You are through to TERF Talk Tuesday. You can say who you are. You absolutely don't have to. What would you like to say?
Oh, hi. I'm a little bit late in on this. Sorry if you've already discussed this, but just wondering what your take is on the closing down of the Tavistock Clinic, whether you think this is a sign of better things to come, or are you skeptical? What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, I think it's utterly symbolic. So number one, that's a good thing. The symbolism of closing something that basically was run so badly and annihilated the fertility of children is great. The fact that it's going regional, for some people, they think that that's an act of cowardice, and actually it will still continue. It will just be less difficult to monitor. I don't think that's true. I think there will be fewer ideologues in the regions who are happy to put children on this path. And I think there may be an opportunity for more of a holistic approach to that patient. I think we 100% will see fewer children who pursue transitioning, because I think they will see doctors that are not quite so personally, ideologically invested in the whole idea of being born in the wrong body. What do you think?
I don't really know what to make of it. I'm very, very cynical by nature. Whether it is a symbolic gesture or not, I really don't know. But what has surprised me is the lack of dissent from the so-called trans community over this. We haven't seen demonstrations, or not that I've seen. I may be wrong, but we haven't seen much by way of dissent from them.
So you think they've been fed? You think they've been? So do you think they have the idea that actually the regions is still amazing, and it's going to be easier to access, because the government have basically said it's going to be easier, shorter waiting lists, but they haven't said on your path to puberty blockers and somebody saying yes you are trans. So maybe at the moment they can't. I mean, can we really? Can even they protest and say we want to mutilate kids' bodies? When do we want it now? I think that would be a difficult protest.
Yes, but knowing how vocal these people are, it's just surprised me. That's all. But I'm not on. I'm not on social media.
Right.
I gave all that up a long time ago. I saw what it was becoming when it first came out, and I sort of distanced myself from that. So I'm in a sense out in the wilderness. I'm out of touch with what's really going on, and this is quite a recent thing for me. I've only recently started finding out about it, and obviously you've come up as one of the voices of reason in all of this, because I'm genuinely shocked. I'm an older guy. I'm 60, perhaps from a different generation, obviously, but I can remember seeing the first signs of this happening as I was growing up, when I was in my late teens, early 20s, back in the 80s. We were seeing this happening with men's identity being taken away, men being turned into women. This was, men didn't know how to behave, basically. And now I see. Right,
because I really want to have a full conversation about this. Tonight is not that night, but I really want to have a full conversation about, because I hear a lot of men blaming feminism, coming in and ruining what men were.
No. I'm not blaming feminism at all.
What do you think the shift is about? What could men be, and then what couldn't they be? And if you could keep it short, that'd be great.
Well, I just remember, obviously, as a young man growing up, and in very much in the sort of in the dating scene, we didn't know whether we were supposed to be masculine or feminine.
Right.
This was very much the thing. I mean, there was men's makeup. There was. We just didn't know really how we were supposed to behave, because there was a lot of pressure from not social media obviously at the time, but the media, to make us more in touch with our feminine side. Now I see this happening. I see what's happening with the whole trans issue as kind of an evolution of this. It's like the blurring, if you like, of our identities. And what's very interesting. And what's very interesting, I'll keep this short and I'll let you go. But what's very interesting about this is that we see women's, not just their rights being taken away, but their actual identities, in that men can now actually become women. And that's like the ultimate manifestation of misogyny, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, what a beautiful point to end on. You're 100% right. Thank you so much for calling in. And yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. These are the most misogynist of all things, to parasitically invade, in fact, what a woman actually is. Thank you so much for calling this evening.
What then?
Cheers. Bye-bye. Okay, look, you're going to have XX chromosomes. We love you, men. We really do. But I will lose my woman TERF card if the next caller isn't a female. It's really, I do wonder what, I don't know the answer. I'm really interested in this whole idea of what men used to be and then what they felt they couldn't be anymore. Good evening. This is TERF Talk Tuesday. You are through to Kellie-Jay. You can say who you are. You don't have to, but good evening.
Wow, hello. I didn't actually think I'd get through. I'm not going to say who I am, just for my safety. I'm a survivor of child sexual abuse and domestic abuse in my adult life, and I've been very sort of blinkered to a lot of this for a long time, and definitely sort of peaked over the last couple of months. My son sort of struggled a little bit after the domestic abuse. He's only 8.
I'm really sorry.
And would say sort of how he didn't want to be a boy and he wanted to be a girl, and I put a lot of that down to now not wanting to be like the other person who was doing the abusing. But I've definitely peaked, and I proudly wore my adult human female t-shirt today that arrived in the post this morning, and I just wanted to say, Kelly, thank you, because you just honestly what you do is just incredible, and just thank you. And please come to Chester.
Oh, I'd love to come to Chester.
Needed, please.
Oh, one of my most lovely friends in the whole wide world has got your exact accent. She's from Chester. But well done you for leaving a situation in which I can't imagine how difficult it must have been, and now to charge. I just have such tremendous respect for women that eventually can walk away. So well done, and especially for your son, and also for having the insight, because I think that is one of the drivers. Is that, you know, if girls have been victims of childhood sexual abuse, then sometimes they just want to opt out of that body, and obviously for boys, they don't want to identify with somebody who's been an abuser. So that makes perfect sense to me.
I didn't struggle personally. I did have I had a friend who did, and transitioned from male to female and ended up taking his life. And that was obviously really hard. He transitioned quite young, I would say, and he ended up taking his life about 3 years after. So, you know, for us as well, I've seen sort of kind of, I guess, a lot of the sides of it now. But I think if people had really sat down with him and asked him, you know, what's happened, you know, are you safe? What's gone on for you? Let's talk through that. Let's work through that. I think if he'd have had the right therapy, that would never have happened for him, and I think he'd still be here.
I just think it's never. How can mental distress ever be? How can the solution ever be to alter somebody's body? It's not. Just makes no sense. But well done for wearing your t-shirt, and thank you so much for calling in. And you never know, I may just drop up to Chester.
No, my God, please do.
I've heard the shopping is fabulous. So, but really, thank you very, very much for calling in, and thank you for being the billboard. It's women like you that make all the difference in the world. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you, Kelly. Bye.
Cheers. Bye. Oh, God, I love women. Aren't we great? You know, women like that get the first-hand experience of the worst of humanity, and, you know, still get to kind of be victorious another day. Like, how incredible is that? The human spirit is nothing but remarkable. And just, you know, we make a difference, right? That's what we do here. You watching, sharing, liking, if you're not too lazy to click the like button, sharing, commenting, listening, making sure that you give women room. That's what we do here. That's what makes the ultimate difference. Good evening. You are through to TERF Talk Tuesday. This is Kellie-Jay. You can say your name. You don't have to, but what would you like to say?
Hi, Kelly. My name's Julie. I'm from Dorset. Gosh, I can't believe I got through, actually. You asked at the beginning of the live stream for people to call in and say how they were first peaked. Sorry, I'm a bit shaky voice because I can't believe I got through. So it was, I've always been a bit of a sort of low-level activist on, I was quite involved with No More Page 3 and things like that. So I was always sort of aware of things. The thing that really piqued me was when Rachel McKinnon won the women's cycling race. And he was just so vile, and the things that he was saying about women, and that was the thing that really made me want to share it with other people and alert them as I saw it to what was going on. And so I started, sharing things on Facebook because I thought, gosh, people really need to wake up to this. How can they need to know this is going on? And I couldn't believe the either stony silence I received or abuse, actually. I just couldn't believe it. Perhaps I was a bit naive, but I just couldn't believe that people wouldn't be really shocked that this great big man taking over a women's place in sport. And then I came to see you in Barnstaple with some other fabulous women, and the rest is history, really. I'm a full-blown TERF and proud.
Sheila Jeffries gave a talk in Barnstaple, didn't she? And she
did.
She talked hilariously about fetish. And all the it's on my channel, actually, if you get the chance, to the listeners and audience, you should watch it, because there are things that men will do for kicks that you just won't quite believe. But well, welcome to TERFdom. And Barnstaple, I used to go to Croyd a lot when I was younger, with all the surfer boys. I couldn't surf, but I did. I absolutely love that part of the country. But yeah, Rhys McKinnon, didn't he do a great job of piquing lots of people?
Well, I hope so. He certainly properly piqued me. But I think what shocked me at the time was how I genuinely naively thought that by sharing this widely and telling people, they would go, oh my God, yeah, oh, how awful, let's all join you. But it was more like, oh no, you can't say that, she's a woman. And I was like, no, he's a man. And so I laid low for a little bit, but was very much buoyed on by what I heard at Barnstaple, which was just great. And then I haven't made it to Speaker's Corner yet, but I fully hope to. I did actually come to the party at in London that you had, and it was great. Met some great people. But yeah, it's I think the time has come when you've got to be brave and speak out and not let it get any worse, really. But I have actually wanted to phone in for a few weeks and ask you, and you did touch on this on one of your videos the other day, but you always talk about you never lose and we will win. But what does winning actually look like?
What a great question. I think what winning looks like is repealing the GRA. So for me, that's what it looks like. It started with the GRA. Look, there were loads of blokes that on a Saturday night might have got their kicks at home, quite rightly, at home with their fetish. Right now, I'm not a big fan of fetish. I think it can be a really controlling and coercive controlling thing in a relationship. However, if these men are happy to stay at home and dress up like their Auntie Frida, who am I to tell them that they can't do it, right? It's none of my business. It's at home. And then what happened is we had the GRA, where suddenly it was no longer something that was a little bit of a fetish where somebody do it at home, but it was something that was like deeply respectable and brave and stunning. And actually the reason for the GRA was because we were homophobes and we wouldn't allow same-sex couples to get married. And I know that there are some lesbian women and there are some homosexual men who also don't agree with gay marriage because they believe it's buying into a system that they don't really agree with. And so I know it's not only homophobia that led it, but that was why we did it. So I think repeal the GRA. I think I'd like to see some people criminalized for what's happened to children. I think that would be a good win. And I'd like to see it completely extracted from schools. And in fact, that the brainwashing that's happened to those children and currently being happened to children is completely reversed. That's personally what I see as winning, that we can all just speak the truth. You know, the guy phoned in just now, he was Brexit, his brother was Remain. Both might be equally right or wrong. It doesn't really matter what side of that debate you're on. But we saw the first sort of, maybe it's not the first, maybe it's just the first that I know about, this kind of no debate, that there's only one right side to something. And I think that's quite dangerous. And we're so far down that now with sort of algorithms and so on. So that's what I think it looks like.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you so much for everything that you do. Keep up your amazing work. And
You're very welcome.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it, but please keep going.
Well, lots of wine, and my husband cooks. So yeah, it's all good. Thank you very much for calling in.
You're welcome.
Nice
Bye.
to talk to you. Bye-bye. Oh, good. Thank God that was another woman. Oh, I love Barnstable. Oh, there was a man I fancied very much when I was about 17, down surfing in Croydon. We'd all get ridiculously drunk and then not be able to drive home the next day because we were too drunk to drive. How wonderful. Oh, that's just, I'm right back in that kind of wonderful little bit of my life. Hello, good evening. You are through to TERF Talk Tuesday. Did I get you? Did I lose you? Are you there? I missed it. Sorry, that was very brief. So that's what I think women looks like. I would really like to explore this whole idea about men, although at the moment I'm only focused on women. Hello, good evening. This is TERF Talk Tuesday. You can say your name, you don't have to, but welcome. What would you like to say?
Hi, Kelly. It's Leslie Farrington again. I won't be long. I was just wondering, my opinion is that the cash review is going to make an awful lot of difference when it comes out. And I think that might affect, you know, these regional centres. And I think if that happens, it may then have to be addressed in the whole of the health service and then in the schools, really, because how could the schools stand alone? Excuse me. Wherever at the moment it's every organisation, isn't it, that is going along with this. But I think if one thing falls, the rest of it's going to fall, because you can't sustain it, can you? It's like the truth. I wonder what your opinion is on that.
I think you might be right. I wonder if there's definitely powerful people who know that this is all going to fall apart, right? And if I was in any sort of power right now, I'd be worried about covering my posterior. And so I think the CAS review, I think maybe the timing of the CAS review and the closing of the Tavistock and the promise of sending it to the regions, maybe that is because they're going to have a complete overhaul and some hard, fast rules about what you can and can't do. And they already know what's in the CAS report, right? They know what's in it. They know what's in it before they close the Tavistock. They've probably seen draft after draft. I'm sure that there are lots of behind closed doors conversations that are being had. And so I think you're absolutely right. And I think when it comes to sort of the methodology, I'm very hopeful that you're right, Leslie.
Can I just say you're looking really well and lovely.
Thanks so much. I wear an awful lot of makeup.
No, you look great. All right, bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. That's Leslie Farrington. You will recognize her from such places as the Sidebar Chat. And also she gave a really good speech in Manchester. Yeah, so that's where you recognize Leslie. Look, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. What I love about our Speakers Corner events is, I'll have to tell you in a minute. Hello, good evening. You are through to TERF Talk Tuesday. You can say who you are. You don't have to. It's entirely up to you. What would you like to say?
Hi, Kellie-Jay. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I got through. I tried like 6 just straight away. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're dipping in and out.
Yeah, exactly. So just for now, because I'm still a little, not too new, but a little new to this, I'm just going to remain anonymous for now. But
Okay.
I don't think this will be the last call that we have, and I will formally introduce myself a bit later on. My question or comment or story is that, so I'm in my mid-30s. I have a younger brother, my beloved younger brother, who I adore and always have done. He is quite a few years younger than me. He's in his sort of mid-20s. And a couple of things I've noticed are, firstly, I feel, and many people might disagree with me with this, and I'm just talking from my personal experience, but I feel I'm of a generation or just an age group where we're not too tolerant of the trans cults. Like some people around my age might be, but generally speaking to my female and male friends, they're not, they're kind of, they might want to be a bit woke, but not this woke, right? And my younger brother, and I do think it's because of his age, and he has really taken, he's really evolved as a person. I'm really proud of him for becoming so independent and growing as a person in the way that he has. And I think not just because he's a man, but for various reasons, you know, he's had certain challenges that, or I've had certain challenges that he hasn't had to deal with, and vice versa. And he's had a number of different challenges that he's really come through, and I really respect him. But I suppose what I'm getting at is that I do feel a little bit that he's been absorbed by the wokeness, and he's very intelligent. He's very kind. He's got more. I'm not his only sister. He has other sisters, and I find that he's very respectful of women. And you know, we've got good parents and all of that. So in some ways, quite privileged. But what has distressed me in previous conversations with him is that he has sort of made comments just when it's come up in the news, like it's not a big family gathering about trans people and talking about that. It's come up in the news, and he said, well, you know what, I don't think you necessarily know, or I don't think you can say whether or not a person is trans, like you don't have that right to say that. And when I've come back with a rebuttal, from my own research, he's got quite defensive, and it's just like there's always this wall. There's always this wall, and the thing is, we do communicate quite well.
Yeah.
But I suppose what I'm getting at is, you know, I would like to share information with him, and that could be along the lines of, you know, sharing. Maybe not this episode, but another episode, because he will recognise my voice. But maybe sharing an episode of TERF Talk Tuesday with you, or another interview that you've done, or you know, something else that is related, that is supportive of you know, what we're doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not really a direct question, but I've thrown a load of information at you, and I just feel like if you could just respond and just give me some advice, and all of us, I don't think I'm the only one going through this with friends and family members. So how can we supportively, and not in a kind of in your face way, share information? And because, you know, the caller, and I'm going on a bit, but sorry, not the caller, sorry, I've listened to quite a few of your watched quite a few of your videos this evening, so I don't know if it was like in the lead up to this, but you did read an article about a lady who was attacked by a TRA, and she was speaking sort of in a very measured way, like you said in the article, and like I said a couple of minutes ago, like there's this. So I'm sorry for rambling.
That's fine.
I just don't know where to go from this, because I want to communicate with my brother. And I know he's trying his best to do well and be a really good citizen, but he's really missing the mark with this one. And I don't want to be harsh with him. So what do you think, Kellie-Jay?
Okay, so here are a few of my thoughts on this. Number one, I believe it is a cult. And so I think what's really difficult about a cult is that the pull into it is not rational. It's not particularly logical. It's like a quasi-religious, dogmatic, mantra-led thing. And it's been incredibly clever and effective. And so before your brother got to this point, we had laws before anybody knew what was going on. And I'm not talking about lesbians who knew that this was going on in the 90s, because I'm not a lesbian, and B, I had no idea that any of this was going on until about 2015. And so I think that all the structures, all the places where you would expect rational, holding the line of truth, those had already fallen before any of us knew that this was going on. So I think that's really difficult. My advice, generally speaking, on dealing with people when they are irrational and emotional in their kind of their argument, if you like. So if you're trying to rationally talk to your brother, and I don't know him, but there is this desire for people to use an emotional argument or to say, you don't know that person, and really avoid the truth. And I just think sometimes when somebody is absolutely laden with emotion, the first thing you have to kind of do is softly catch that emotion and not return any. So you just kill the emotion dead. If you find yourself beginning to get heated, you don't want to lose your relationship with your brother. I would just say, maybe today isn't the day to talk about it, or just say, I find that, you know, when you talk like that, what I hear is misogyny. And I understand that you don't think that you are saying something that is hateful about women, but that is what I hear. And I've had really, I'm sure one day I will be able to talk more about this, but I've had a really good lesson in the last couple of years about being able to sort of catch somebody's emotion and just absorb it and not return it. And I think that is one of the ways that you can then just keep having quite a good conversation with him and hope that the penny will drop. But that's the same as any kind of misguided person. And also, I think we also have to look to some of the people who, I can't name a single one, who has dealt with cults and helping people escape cults, and also people who help women escape, or other victims of women escape domestic violence. So sort of the Freedom Program and things like that. And those methods of being able to recognize when things aren't truthful. But that's what I would say to you with your brother is, I'm sure he loves you dearly too. I'm sure he's very upset that you are a rabid transphobe, that you are a rabid transphobe and a TERF. I'm sure that is deeply distressing to him. But if you just keep it on the level constantly, and he's got nowhere to go with that emotion, I think he'll probably listen to you just a little bit more. And I wish you all the very best.
Thank you so much, Kellie-Jay. You know what? I didn't expect you to say any of that. I wasn't really expecting anything in particular. I was just intrigued, but the way that you responded to that was just beautiful and really useful. So thank you so much for all the work you do. Thank you. Fellow Turban, let's keep going.
Let's do it. Come to any of our events and stand next to somebody at some point where you can just freely speak. But thank you so much for calling in, and the best of luck to you and your brother.
Thank you again. Take care.
All right,
bye-bye.
cheers. Good night. Okay, you lovely people. What a lovely way to end. I do think there is something in we can all enjoy provoking TRAs, right? I'm not saying the last caller's brother is a TRA, but we can enjoy provoking people. We can enjoy all of that. We can enjoy the like winning little points. Oh, I'm going to get them with that point. But actually, often, if you give someone the room to have the debate almost with themselves, then that is far more powerful and convincing for them than anything that you can actually say. You just lead these people into that place. in which they know that they're not speaking the truth, that they know they're having to do the mental gymnastics. That is, I hope, what I attempt to do all the time. I mean, I like to show people up on media, right? Because they're not my brother. I don't particularly care about whether or not somebody feels foolish after I've spoken to them online. But, you know, that's how it works in your real life relationships, that you have to allow somebody the space to realize that they themselves are foolish. Anyway, I can happily say I've done that a couple of times myself. Right. I am going to say farewell to you. Thank you to all the callers. Look, if you're getting annoyed that I'm allowing people to talk too long, and I definitely know one of my friends is, because they keep texting me to tell me, I am trying to do my level best to make sure that people have enough to say and don't say too much. I hope you join me next week. And call yourself. If you think you've got something to say, just call. You don't have to say who you are. And only if your whole friends and family also tune in and recognize your voice. It could be a bad thing, but actually it would probably be a great thing, because then you know that you can talk to them. So look, if you can speak the truth, even to people you love dearly, and you know that they don't want to hear it, then those small battles, those small victories, and I don't mean that in a victorious way, but if you can convince someone that you love, that you know who doesn't agree with you, if you can convince them that you are at least worth listening to, then I promise we will win. If you can come and stand next to somebody and say the truth out loud and feel the freedom and the liberty in being able to do so, then I promise we will win. If you can be the billboard, then you have to go to adulthumanfemale.store or adulthumanfemale.us. If you can be the billboard, walk down the street, create conversations, offer thoughts, critical thinking to people that you will never even speak to, then I promise we will win. And you know why else we're going to win? Because I never lose.